Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global Government News. Today is Tuesday, November 16th, 2010, and I'm Darko. New listeners, please visit my website, ggnonline.com. That's www.ggnonline.com. This is going to be a Big Brother surveillance news video. And we're going to kick it off with just a little bit of an older article. About 5 days now? Just a complete farce, really. Just most okay with TSA full body scanners. It's all over the news right now, mostly due to the fact that these body scanners are popping up in almost every airport now, thanks to you, the taxpayer, who's funding all this through the stimulus funds and that, and also due to the Christmas Day bomber, who was basically a patsy working for intelligence agencies. And so you can thank him too, along with Michael Chertoff. And now I just found out and learned George Soros is also profiting off these things. So big scam, of course, but they're everywhere. And now they're patting people down. Enhanced pat down is what they call it. And if you don't want to go through these body scanners and get your naked body photographed, then you gotta, be subjected to this humiliating experience, with these pat downs. I just saw a picture yesterday of a nun, an old nun, with a TSA agent's face in her, how do you say this, private areas, and her hands up her dress. It's a god awful. Even if you're not religious, it's a bad picture to see, because, it's all for nothing. So just wanted to say that. But yeah, this article was put out 5 days ago. It says air travelers strongly approve of the government's use of body scanners at the nation's airports, even if the machines compromise privacy. And that was a Today Gallup poll. So, and they say respondents appear to endorse the TSA's plan to install 300 scanners at the nation's largest airports. So I'm sure many of you have seen that already. This is Napolitano. Scanners are safe, pat-downs discreet, nearly a year after a thwarted terrorist attack on a Detroit-bound airliner last Christmas Day. See, so it's all in the name of a false flag terrorist attack that wasn't real. So it's just like Iraq. Can we go back and say, well, no, let's get the hell out of the Middle East. It was all based off false pretenses. We were lied to. And people that try to come out with that evidence were killed for it. So, no, but they don't want to look back. They want to keep looking forward. It says the recent attempt by terrorists to conceal and ship explosive devices aboard aircraft bound for the U.S. reminds us that Al-Qaeda, and those inspired by its ideology are determined to strike our global aviation system and are constantly adapting their tactics for doing so. So, and they go on, and it's basically justifying, right? The ends justify the means. Like these person I saw on the news last night, locally in Chicago, Jay Levine or something like that. It was. I just remembered it was on. I think it was Fox. He's Walter Jacobson. He used to be a big Fox guy, but I think he moved. But either way, him and Jay Levine, I think it was the other anchor, were kind of going at it about these enhanced pat downs and body scanners. And Walter Jacobson said basically, if it helps me feel safer, if it helps, or if it prevents from a bomb from getting on the plane, well, then I'm all for it. But that mentality will only get you so far, because, and excuse me, I'm kind of coming down with some kind of bug here, so excuse my sniffling and that. But yeah, so if you believe, if it's all based off crap, if it's all based off lies, then why would you accept that premise? Why would you go through this humiliating experience and be degraded down to just a slave, which is what most of us are? But why would you want to feel more of it like a slave for nothing? It was based off false pretense, as I said. So our new security screenings affecting your decision to fly, so stepped up security screening at airports in the wake of foiled terrorism plots have provoked an outcry from airline pilots and travelers, including parents of children who say they are too intrusive. And industry officials, travelers, and pilots have complained bitterly to the TSA and Department of Homeland Security about a new full-body scanners and more rigorous pat-down checks begun in recent weeks. So So they say security officials have defended the measures, like we just saw right there, talking about foiling plots by Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which has tried to hide bombs in their clothing and parcels that have made it aboard a U.S. passenger airliner and 2 cargo planes. This next one up here is poll: do new TSA airport screens go too far? Besides the delays and invasive searches, new screenings may hurt airline industry. It says, what do you think? So, this is from CBS. Revealing full body scans and genital touching pat downs are poised to become a regular fixture of airline travel in the U.S., and people are hopping mad about it. Well, in these airports, I've mentioned this in other videos, just traveling through the airports, that's just kind of the litmus test. Obviously it's going to go next to the schools, right? Next, it'll be going, these naked body scanners will be going into school, all the schools, grammar schools and elementary and high school and colleges. So, and probably in the reverse order, they'll have another university shooting. To me, I think half that stuff is mind control or, DARPA or it's some kind of black op program. That's just my personal opinion, though. They carry out these false flag attacks, kind of like a Sirhan thing. So they'll carry out some more university shootings. So they'll go around on a rampage, and then you'll see the body scanners in all the universities, and it'll start and it'll go downwards from there. But yeah, that's how it is. They test it at the airports to see how people react to it, and then if not, then they'll be in train stations and buses and Greyhounds and all that. So, but it says some of the effects of this 2-month-old change in the way of airline passengers are screened are already being felt. So CBS News traveler editor Peter Greenberg warns that the most immediate effect of these new security procedures will be longer lines and even travel delays, perhaps in no small part because even airline pilots have come out vehemently against them. Says there are several reports, some disputed, of dust-ups with TSA agents not really offering promised alternatives to the scans. So they're kind of coercing people to go through these things, saying that they have to. And, there's a lot of the public, they don't even know what their own rights are, what their rights are, so they'll just do it. Some reports claim TSA agents are simply booting passengers and pilots from airports for refusing to take part. That's right, they're they're just making it public to humiliate people. You don't have to be humiliated just by having some stranger in public feeling you up. And you also have to deal with them saying, "Oh, we have an opt-out." So this next one up here is TSA to investigate body scan resistor. It says the TSA has opened an investigation targeting John Tyner, the Oceanside man who left Lindbergh Field under duress on Saturday morning after refusing to undertake a full body scan. Tyner recorded the half-hour-long encounter on his cell phone and later posted it to his personal blog. Along with an extensive account of the incident, the blog went viral, attracting hundreds of thousands of readers and thousands of comments. So, it says here, the chief of the TSA, Mr. Aguilar, called a news conference at the airport Monday afternoon to announce the probe. He said the investigation could lead to prosecution, civil penalties of up to, $11,000. TSA agents had told Tyner on Saturday that he could be fined up to $10,000. And what really gets me is that what are they going to do when TSA has been under a lot of scrutiny right now, and actually in the past 2 years, because they've been rolling these body scanners out for a good year now since the false flag on Christmas. So. Does the TSA, do they compensate women when they plant drugs on them or fake drugs so they can fuel them up? Because I've read stories about that and children and all that. Are they gonna compensate these passengers that are going through this through these horrible situations? No, I don't think so. Next one is from Reuters. Pilots and passengers rail at new airport pat-downs, and this is, like I said, this is all over the news right now. Stepped up security screening at airports in the wake of a foiled terrorism plots has provoked an outcry from airline pilots and travelers, including parents of children who say they are too intrusive. And of course, it talks about the busiest holiday travel season nearing. Flyers face long security lines, and new rigorous pat-down checks begin in recent weeks aimed at discovering hidden explosives. As a result, some travelers are questioning whether to fly at all. And so, of course, I gotta just fill in this word form and say some. You can put at least half, so a majority, if not a strong minority of travelers. But they want you to say some. They want you to think some as if it's a minority, a small minority, not that many people, not really relevant enough to to have their voice heard. TSA, despite objections, all passengers must be screened. Says in response to a video of a California man's dispute with airport security officials, that's what we just covered, the TSA said Monday it tries to be sensitive to individuals, but everyone getting on a flight must be screened. The video, in which software engineer John Tyner refuses an X-ray scan at the San Diego, California airport, has sparked a debate over screening procedures. So, it says Tyner told CNN on Sunday that he was surprised to see so many people take an interest in his refusal and the dispute with airport screeners that followed it, but he said he hoped that the video will focus attention on what he calls a government invasion of privacy. So, we'll move on here. Scanners and pat-downs upset airline passengers. I already know that. TSA now putting hands down flyers' pants, and it goes down on here. And talks about a 54-year-old Missouri city man experienced similar treatment when he was going through security at Fort Lauderdale Airport. Thomas Mullen was subject to a groping by a TSA officer that had tantamount to sexual molestation. So it says the level of abuse appears to be getting worse on almost a daily basis. First, TSA agents use the back of their hands, then they outright grope you with the front, and now they are being trained to put their hands down travelers' pants. So it says as the resistance to airport oppression grows, big sis and the TSA are responding by making pat-down procedures more invasive. Napolitano has figuratively said to American people, "Let them eat cake," as she slaps them in the face. So it says here, given the fact that the TSA's own woeful background checks for their own employees allow rapists and pedophiles to get jobs as pat-down agents, will you allow TSA workers to put their hands down the pants of your daughter or wife? So there you go. And this next one up is from Forbes. Full frontal nudity doesn't make us safer. Abolish the TSA. So, and of course it goes into some political rhetoric and bipartisan. So I'm not even going to cover that. You like that? I'm not being smart with you guys, but I'm so sick of politics. Don't even want to hear it. Amid airport anger, GOP takes aim at screening. So, more politics. It has nothing to do with politics, though, right, guys? I mean, think about it. If we didn't have a government, we wouldn't have a TSA. We wouldn't have to have government officials, who can't get fired, or, the company itself, which is the U.S. government, is a corporation. It can't, those employees can't be fired. They have a monopoly on it, right? So if we didn't have a government, well, then we would have private security. And if, people were like, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to fly until, these companies in the airport remove this private security company from, their airport. Or I won't fly. You just protest with your dollar. That's what a free market is. But see, once you start bringing the government into it, you're just asking for trouble. George Soros also profiting off controversial new TSA scanners. Oh, so we know about Michael Chertoff, right? But it says then this morning, Charlie also noted the former Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff was flacking for Rapiscan. As for the company's other political connections, it also appears that none other than George Soros, the billionaire founder of the country's liberal political infrastructure, owns 11,300 shares of OSI Systems Inc, the company that owns Rapiscan. Not surprisingly, OSI stock has appreciated considerably over the course of the year. Soros certainly is a savvy investor. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this individual's name correct, but henrymakow.com has an article posted that's attached to November 11th article from Reuters, I believe. Yeah, pilots and passengers rail at new airport pat-downs. And he goes in here and he talks about basically how this was all talked about a long time ago. In 1969, Rockefeller insider Dr. Richard Day predicted the future in these terms, quote, travel would become very restricted. People would need permission to travel, and they would need a good reason to travel. Says, if you didn't have a good reason for your travel, you would not be allowed to travel, and everyone would need an ID. Later on, some sort of device would be developed to be implanted under the skin that would be coded specifically to identify the individual. I wonder what that would be, right? Your little RFID chip. North American Union, U.S. Super Spy Center uncovered in Mexico. And Megaplex includes CIA, FBI, DEA, Defense Intelligence, BATF, Department of Treasury, and others. So there's a picture of it, and it's considered the Office of Bilateral Intelligence in Mexico. Fusion centers gather terrorism intelligence and much more. And first